according to Heidegger, he is thrown into the world to experience the world and to experience the world with others. Okay, to experience it with others. And Heidegger uses Dasein to refer to the experience of being that is peculiar to us. That is peculiar to us. No? And we cannot talk of that in relation to the experiences of animals or inanimate beings. But this is peculiar to us human beings. Now, in the first slide, it is, in the second slide, I should say, it says in there that the foundation of Heidegger's existentialism is the principle of Dasein. As I have said, literally meaning being there. Okay? And the method of phenomenology as ontological and hermeneutic. So Dasein is the being living in the world, equipped with the capacity to be conscious of every phenomenon or circumstance that may influence its being existing in the world. Its being existing in the world. Okay, moving forward, next slide. Okay, man is not only existing in the world, but he also exists in time. So, what do you mean by that? It highlights the reality of our being temporal. In other words, we do not live permanently here on earth. Okay? So, we are being existing within time. Okay? So, we are historical beings. And the everydayness of our life, the everydayness of our life consists of what we do with our life, and it will really create an impact later on, okay, at the twilight of our life, So here, the second slide tells us that we as temporal beings, okay, we as human persons, living in time, okay, we have the capacity to do something to be able to improve ourselves while we are living in time. And the question, of course, is what are we doing with our temporaliness, with our being temporal persons here on earth. Okay, next slide. Okay, the fourth slide. Since man is existing within time, okay, he has a birth of how he came to be. Okay. He exists within time, and he journeys towards his authenticity in his everyday existence. It would mean also that death is a possibility, as a clear possibility, and one thing that remains is the end. Okay, one thing that remains is the end. Okay, sometimes we need to ask ourselves, bakit ba pag maganda, masarap yung experience, maganda experience, we do not want it to end. Okay, pero pag hindi maganda yung experience, mahirap yung experience, gusto mo na magtapos na agad. Okay. But when it comes to life, whether we experience, okay, the beauty of life, or a wonderful life, or a life filled with fame, luxury here on earth, it will come to an end. Or whether we experience poverty, we experience sickness, we experience COVID-19, we may be able to overcome the COVID-19, but in the long run, okay, at the time appointed by our Lord, death will really come. But the question is, what kind of death will that be for us? Anong klase namang ending? And here comes beautiful contribution of Martin Heidegger that actually man is not thrown into the world without a purpose. Okay? Man, though he is temporal, each one of us, some may live more than 50 years, others may live even more than 100 years, others may live even for just a short period of time. But the question at the end is not about the longevity of our temporal life, but it's all about the quality. The quality. What kind of ending? Was it a sad ending? A beautiful ending? Is it an ending that is meaningful? An ending that is fruitful? So here, on this fourth slide, it tells us that the end is inevitable. The how to get to the end is actually the business of each one of us. Okay? We could not just follow the command of everyone or anybody else, because as we go through our human existence here on earth, okay, we have to do it. We have to do it our way, and that is the unique experience of being human, right? That is tending towards our own end, that is death. Okay. Yes, next slide, please. Death is an essential concept of Heidegger's existentialism. So death is actually a reminder for us to fulfill our existence. So we have to ask ourselves, why am I here? Bakit nga ba ako isinilang sa mundong ibabaw? Isinilang ba ako to study? Isinilang ba ako para magkaroon ng pamilya? Isinilang ba ako para magtrabaho, yumaman, magkaroon ng pera, all these things? Well, it is for us, each human person, to decipher. But the thing is, when we are reminded of the death, which is an inevitable experience that each of us cannot escape, okay, each of us has to face, then the concept of human person as being towards death will actually give us the compass, how we must live our life here on earth, how we must live our life here on earth. Okay, so we will proceed to the subtopic. So that's just the introduction. I'm here, participants. We go to the telos. What do you mean by telos? Okay, telos. Okay, the telos, letter A, capital letter A, telos. Telos means simply the purpose or goal of the design. The purpose or goal of the design. So in designating temporality as the meaning of design, Heidegger uses the word meaning. Okay? Meaning in a manner that is inconsistent with his own phenomenological findings. As a philosopher, okay, Heidegger also improves on his philosophical thought and exploration. Okay, now, in here, there is an analogy of the hammer, martillo, the analogy of the hammer. What's the significance of a hammer? Okay, the significance of the hammer, okay, is to be able to push, for example, the nail, so that it will really be nailed to where it should be. Okay? The hammer is not used para mapukpok ng ulo o para pumatay ng iba o manakit ng iba. Hammer has its own significance, but it will only have its significance in relation to the other components. For example, find the existence, we find the meaning of our human existence, not by ourselves, but always in relation to others. It's always in relation to others. Now, I do not know if you have heard of some people, minsan pag sinasabi nila, pag halimbawa, no? May I just give you a concrete example. Namatayan sila. Sabi nila, namatay yung kanilang, for example, namatay yung kanilang pinakamamahal sa buhay. At sasabihin nila, you know what they will say? Others will be so much affected by the experience of the loss of a loved one, to the point that sasabihin nila, parang wala na ring saysay ang buhay ko sa mundong ibabaw. Parang nawala na ng meaning. Because the one to whom I relate with meaningfully, nawala na sa akin physically, namatay na, iniwan na niya ako, o nakiseparate na siya sa akin. So in the end, what is still the purpose of my life? Ano pang purpose ko sa mundong ibabaw? And this could even be true, no, to those who really are heartbroken, for example, no? Parang akala mo, sila na lang yung huling babae o huling lalaki sa mundong ibabaw. Kaya what happened, no? Pag naghiwalay sila, sometimes it boils to the unfortunate incident of committing suicide. Okay? Kasi parang wala nang meaning. Wala nang meaning yung buhay nila. And telos, or purpose or goal of the dark time is for us to really find the meaning of our human existence here on earth. Okay? To really find the meaning of our human existence here on earth. So, this temporality of being human towards an end, okay, we can never escape. Okay, we can never escape. And in such anticipation of an end, okay, man tends to drive himself towards a form of completion or wholeness, that meaning of his existence. So, this juncture, okay, I would like to lead you into a kind of introspection. Okay, you look into yourself. What have I been doing with my life? Is this consonant with the purpose why I am here on earth? Or why I am living? Ako binigyan ng ganitong buhay. Okay, why did God allow me to live here on earth? Okay, why did God allow me to experience living in time? Okay, living in time. Let us proceed to letter B. Maybe proceed to letter B, which is, it is a sub that is entitled death. It is entitled death. So here we are. As I have said, I am not trying to scare you, but it is something that each one of us has to face. Okay, each one of us has to face, because this will also create an impact in the way we navigate our life, in the way that we navigate our life here on earth. Okay. Yes. I think this slide, that is letter B on death. So after telos, we go to death. Okay. So, death. Okay. When we consider our own death, okay, we consider it as the prospect of our coming to an end. But as Heidegger said, we do not mean but that by this end a coming to completion, in the sense of finally having together what had been lacking. Quoting him, okay, Heidegger said that time should be together only when its not yet has been filled up in so far from the case that it is precisely then that time is no longer continuing in existence. So, while it is true that as we live here, we go through a process. We go through a process. Kaya nga, it is not just being at an end, yung term ni Martin Heidegger dito in Germany, I think I projected it there po, zu Ende sein, meaning being at an end. Yun na yung static, while the other is being towards the end. Sein zu Ende. I don't know if I pronounce it right. Okay, that is how it was translated, being towards the end. So all of us, the moment that we are born into the world, we are actually tending towards our own end. As another philosopher said, that the moment, okay, that you are born, that is actually a preparation for your death. Oh, see, that's not coming from me. Okay, that is why that is something that is really important for us. I'm not thinking that mamamatay na ako, kailangan gumawa na ako ng mabuti. No. What I'm saying is, we should always be conscientious of the deep reality that we are only temporary. We are only living here temporarily. So, what we can do, whatever good, true, beautiful that we can do while we are living on earth, we must not miss that opportunity. Okay? Because we may never cross that path again in our life. Okay? Okay? That is why if it is a process, it is being towards the end, then we really have to go to the process meaningfully by, katulad nga ng sinabi ni Ma'am Romary, okay, we have to spread love, okay, we have to spread love, we really have to live our life, okay, full of love and with discipline, okay, or in other words, we can even say with good manners and right conduct, regardless of kung anumang religion ang kinabibilangan natin. I think at the very core of our humanity is that we really aspire for meaning in our life here on earth. Okay, so there are in this topic about the human person as being towards death, there are 4 primary elements of death. Okay, it is now 10:27, so I have to make it faster. Okay, so first is death at Dasein's own most. So when you say Dasein, the human reality. The human reality, when you say own most, it is mindness. Mindness. Yung experience ko mismo. So that when I die as myself. Okay? So that when I face death, I have to face it by myself. Okay? So, for example, when you see a person, okay, dying, I don't know if you have seen one, but when you see a person dying, okay, no matter how many or how beautiful your words will be like, yes, we will be with you, we will pray for you, we will accompany you, but in the end, you cannot accompany that person who is at the deathbed. You cannot accompany, you can only be there, okay, pray for him or pray for her, but actually, he or she will be the only one who will face that reality, that human experience of death. So, it is Dasein's own most. So, I have my Dasein's own most, my mindness. You also have yours. Okay? You also have yours. Okay? No, but only in God's time or design, di natin alam kung kailan yun. Okay? The second, okay, is death. Okay? Death at non-relational. What do you mean by non-relational? okay, non-relational, actually, Martin Heidegger, okay, reminds us, no, that we should learn how to detach, okay, ourselves from anything, okay, or even anyone, okay, that is not essential, especially when we are nearing our own death. Okay, this is in anticipation of the death, no. Therefore, which is true, no. For example, even if no matter how many diplomas you have, no matter how many houses you have bought, okay, katulad nga ng sabi ni Ma'am Helen Aki kanina, okay, do you need 3 homes, 3 houses? I think one is enough, which is true. And live simply, because in the end, okay, the experience of being there, okay, at the moment of death, will tell us that we should practice already, okay, this detachment, okay, detachment from anything or anyone that is non-essential, okay, that is non-essential. Third is, death is not to be outstripped. Death is not to be outstripped. Simply means, okay, death is undeniable. Death is undeniable. Okay, death is undeniable. Just as we have the potential to build our own career, to build our own name, okay, to build our own fortune, whatever that is that you want to build while you are living on earth, okay, death, no, is undeniable. Death will come because we are all temporal persons. And then the last, okay, regarding this is that death is certain and indefinite. Okay. So what do we mean by that? We cannot evade death because every day is a call towards death. We are human beings toward death. Okay, and indefinite. Why indefinite? Because we do not know when death will come into our life. Okay, when death will come into our life. They say that human beings go through the stages of first denial. No? For example, pag nalaman mo may taning na yung buhay mo, hindi mo agad ma-accept. You will have to deny, and sometimes you don't pay attention to it. But when it really shows signs, pag nandyan na yung signs na death is really coming, no, knocking at your door, no, you will go through that stage of anger. Okay? Galit ka sa Diyos, bakit nangyari sa ito, bakit nagkasakit ka ng ganito, binigyan ka ng ganitong terminal na sakit, etc., etc. And then later on, pag nag-sink in na talaga, then you go through the process of bargaining. Nakikibargain ka sa Diyos. Pwede ba, Panginoon, you give me one more time, one more chance to live? No? Kung mabigyan mo ako ng 1 year or 5 years, no? I will strengthen my life. No? Gagawa ko ng kabutihan, etc., etc. Sila ganun. But then, pag wala na talaga, the last stage, and this is where really death, no, is inevitable. We have to surrender. That's it. We have to surrender. So denial, anger, bargaining, and then surrender. Okay. Letter C, which is on the mortality and the meaning fulfillment, is supposed to be reported by my colleague, Reverend Father Eric Galivo, but I am so sorry because he was just transferred. Okay, he was just transferred to a new parish, so hindi na po siya yung rector ng seminary. He was just transferred. He is handling institution or parish is yung birth yung mahirap, starting pa lang. And then he also has school, he was given school to handle. So, I hope Ma'am Dr. Romery will, and my classmates will be able to understand if I will just be the one to report on his behalf. Okay, on his behalf. Dr. Romery, this part was made by him, but he said this is also one thing, no? He is uncertain of what he was given, yung assignment niya, so, but he has to say yes as a leap of faith on his part. So I hope Dr. Romery and my classmates will understand it. I will just report this part of Father Eric, which is actually the last part. Don't you worry, the last part. So, and I will shorten it, okay, regarding mortality and meaning fulfillment. Okay, so is neither empirical nor theoretical. Okay, that sign does not proximally and for the most part have any explicit or even theoretical knowledge of the fact that it has been delivered over to its death, and that death thus belongs to being in the world. So thrownness into death reveals itself to that sign in a more primordial and impressive manner in that state of mind which we have called anxiety. Ito na yung sinasabi ko. The moment that death, no, really creeps in our own consciousness, and then it will develop anxiety, in the human person. Each of us, I think no one can ever say that he or she is ready for death. No, I think at the very core of the life of each human being, andun yung anxiety, andun yung takot, andun yung uncertainty. Ano ba yun? What is this mystery of death? What is this mystery of death? Okay? Now, let me go to the analogy of the ship. Okay? We all know we have seen ships, boats. Okay? An example so that we can understand also the purpose of this concept and the consciousness of death, in each human being is its representation could be, for example, the North Star. Okay, the North Star. For example, when the ship begins to navigate or to sail, for example, the North Star. Okay, the North Star. It will always be the let us say the vantage point, or it could be the guide. It could be the guide for for example, for the sailor or for the captain of the ship to be able to arrive at the destination, at the supposed destination. So now we have the compass. Okay, for example, we have the compass. Okay, we have the GPS, the global positioning system. Okay, we have all the science and technology, okay, that helps us. Okay, now when it comes to life, when it comes to human life, okay, we must also have a GPS. We must also have our own GPS. And our own GPS, okay, tells us that death is just, it's part of our human life, okay. So death consciousness, our consciousness of death, okay, can be our moral compass. It can be our moral compass to fully live accordingly, meaningfully. To fully live accordingly and meaningfully. Okay? Yes, we are here We don't know how many years we are left with. Ilang taon pa ba tayo mabubuhay sa mundo di Babaw? And therefore, at the back of our minds, with this consciousness that death may strike at any time, lalo na kay panahon ng COVID. Even if we are fully vaccinated, we cannot say hindi na tayo tatamaan ng COVID. Okay? And with all these multiple variants that have come up, what else have we to do? Ano pa bang pwede natin gawin? Well, okay, from this report, okay, it tells us we can still live meaningfully by living accordingly. Okay, living accordingly and always be conscientious that at the end, okay, it is we who can make our lives meaningful, our living in time meaningful. Okay, so the concept of death, okay, as my parting words, okay, on behalf of Father Eric Galibo, the concept of death should be a reminder that to live with a purpose. Okay, so each one of us, we are called to fulfill something. And that something, it has something to do with meaning. Yung kabuluhan ng buhay. Okay? It's good to quote a Hollywood actor, a very famous one. I will not mention the name. Okay, he was interviewed and it was published in the Inquirer. Okay, years back, he was asked, a very famous one. Okay, he was asked by a journalist, "What else do you wish? You have money, you have fame, you have a wonderful family, you have a beautiful career, beautiful wife, intelligent children. What else do you wish?" And then he said, there's still one thing I wish. And then the journalist was surprised. And then the famous Hollywood actor said, "I wish that everyone will be rich so that they will realize that money is not everything. That money and fame is not that which gives meaning." So, yes, what is meaningful life, by the way? What is meaningful life? With this anticipation of death, one is called to fulfill something, which is meaning, okay? Which is to be discovered by each one of us. Why am I here? Why am I here? So the concept of death, the correct outlook of being human, okay, as called towards death, is really needed, especially in this time where death may really strike us any time. Will strike any time, anyone. Okay, sabi nga ni Ma'am Helen Aki kanina, okay, life is short and fragile. So, and then this is small virus, and then with variety of variants, okay, with variety of variants, it caused global panic. It caused global panic. At minsan nga, in the Philippine setting, kasama ng global panic is what? For example, the issue of corruption, transparency, all these things. So, the question now is, saan ba talaga patungo yung buhay ng tao? What is meaning to human life? So, death itself is an inescapable educator. Okay? Death is an inescapable educator that, when taken seriously, can actually be the most effective teacher in all the circumstances of life. Okay? Most especially in this time of COVID-19, with all its variants. Okay? Death seems to be negative. nabasa dito, may mga nakatakot na aso. Death seems to be a negative concept, no? Which we dare not talk about. But having the right perspective about it, it can actually lead us to develop and sustain positive human behavior amid this global crisis. Let me repeat that. Having the right perspective about death, no? We as tending towards death, as beings towards death, it can actually lead us to develop and sustain positive human behavior amid this global crisis. We take note, this global pandemic is not just a matter of economic, political, or financial, or social, or even religious crisis. It is actually a matter of a life and death. Okay? And now, the question is, in between life and death, in between womb to tomb, what are we doing? Gagawa natin. It is good to ask ourselves, what have I done so far? Or what have I not yet accomplished? How do I proceed with my life in this time of pandemic? So this topic, the human person as being towards death, is a fitting reminder that whatever education one has achieved in his or her life, all of this will have to come to an inescapable end. And that is death. Death. But, and this is the big but, what is of current importance to each one of us is the now. Now, N-O-W. What am I doing with the education that I have? With my education guided by the various philosophies, am I achieving my purpose meaningfully? Well, we can answer this in the affirmative, no? If we can say that we are becoming better persons every day of our existence. And so in the end, it will not be a question of longevity of human life on earth, but on the quality of one's human existence that matters the most. And in the midst of this pandemic, having positive behavior and outlook in life, coupled with good manners and right conduct, okay, will surely aid all of us to have quality human existence towards meaningful life. Okay, so as Mom said, you spread love, spread love, find your meaning, your purpose. Okay, let me end this with an anecdote. There was this American tourist, which is an anecdote that I read. There was this American tourist who was, he is living a life of luxury, of affluence. In other words, he seems to have everything, but he still wants to find meaning. And so he decided to go on travel and go to that part of Greece, in Athens, okay, because he heard about an abbot who is able to guide many people towards living a meaningful life. So, ang ginawa niya ay nag-travel siya sa Greece. He went to Athens. Then, he was able to find the place, the monastery where the abbot is the head monk. The abbot was living. So, when he found it, nabigla siya. It's just so simple. And then the abbot toured that how come you are the head monk and yet you have a very small room? You don't even have furniture. You only have your small bed, one chair, one small table. Where are your furnitures? Tapos sinagot siya ng abot. How about you? Where are yours? Tapos sumagot yung American tourist. Well, I do not bring my furnitures. I am only a tourist here. Tapos sinagot siya ng abot. Same with me. I am just a tourist on this earth. So, I think the challenge for us by this topic, okay, human person as being towards death is, life is short. Love life, live life. And if life is a journey, then find the right path. I think that's all. Thank you.
Alright, once again, thank you so much, Father Arvin Soriano. Father, napakarami po nang share yung thoughts sa amin. Father Arvin has shared to us a lot of thoughts for us to ponder on. Questions like, how must we live our life here on earth? Or questions like, what have I been doing in my life? Mga tanong na kailangan talaga nating pagnilayan, kumbaga, the term is pagnilayan. And of course, through the discussion of Father Arvin, we need to contemplate on the purpose, our purpose on earth. Why did God allow me to live in time? So we need to find our purpose. Our life is temporary, according to Father Arvin, but we need to find our purpose. And death becomes a reminder for man to fulfill his existence. Once again, thank you so much for that very interesting and mind and heart or soul-feeding discussion, Father Arvin Soriano. How about a virtual clap for our speaker, no other than Father Arvin Soriano. Thank you so much po. At this juncture, my dear participants, we'll be having our open forum wherein we are going to entertain the questions. We're going to read the questions and thoughts you have posted to our chat box, and maybe we can still entertain few questions to be answered by our speakers. We still have here Madam Helen S. Aki and Father Arvin Soriano to answer your queries. I think they've already posted some, Father, while you are having your discussion. Okay, let me read the question coming from Sir Melchor. Good morning po, Father, and good morning po sa lahat. How can we really overcome the paralyzing fear about death when we experience instantaneous death of our loved ones? How can we share to our students the true wisdom of heart, which is to be constantly conscious of one's own death? Yes, Father Arvin.
As I have said a while ago, death can strike any one of us anytime. And so we can. The reality is that we can never be really prepared for death. But what we can do is to really live the present moment, the now, that is most important. And we should always be aware that because death will strike at any time, anywhere, okay, always living what is, as I said, what is true, what is good, what is beautiful. Okay? What is true, what is good, what is beautiful. only spoke of the openness to the other. So we can only surmise that the openness to the other can be the openness to God. You know, whatever God will offer after one's life here on earth. Okay. So when we say instantaneous death, no, yung bang you're not prepared, and then you're not prepared. What happens is that usually no words can comfort you at the death of a loved one. Kahit anong sabihin mong beautiful, flowery words, no, what can console the most is just be there. No, just be there with that person. Okay, accompany that person without even saying a word. I think that is the most beautiful thing that one can show. Okay, so at that instant, being there, no? Being there, that is still part of the topic, no? That time, being there, okay, for that person, okay, who's going through the crisis of having lost a loved one, no, instantaneously. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you so much, Father Arvin.
Okay, so thank you so much, Father. Are there any questions or thoughts you would like to share? Please share it through our chat box. And may I just remind our participants to please fill out the link or the evaluation link that will be sent here later on. After before you leave the meeting, please answer the evaluation or open the evaluation link so that you will be given or you will be receiving the certificate from this webinar. Okay, so it will be posted later on, and you will be answering that evaluation link before you leave the webinar book. Okay, so are there any other questions that you would like to raise? All right, so indeed we had a very nice discussion together with Father Arvin Soriano. That was, and even the questions raised by some of our participants here are very sensible, really. Okay, so we now proceed at this juncture. We'll now proceed to the reflections or insights to be given to us by Mr. Paul Michael Filstead. Sir Paul Michael Filstead, the screen is yours now, sir.
Okay, thank you, Sir John Larry. First of all, I would like to thank the PSU OUS, to our Executive Director, Dr. Mary Claire Briones, to our Deputy Director, Dr. Philip Caroda, to our very able Professor, Dr. Romary Lingkod, and also to Dr. Randy Bentayan for making this webinar a possibility. It is very timely indeed as we are facing this pandemic before us. This webinar has given us new learnings and understanding on the situation that we are in today. Thank you to our high caliber speakers for imparting their knowledge before us. Father Arvin, Father Eric, and Professor Helen. Thank you for all the learnings. I would like to take this opportunity to share to you some insights and reflections with regards to our webinar today. Our first session, Principles and Reflections in the Midst of the Global Pandemic by Professor Helen S. Aki. The COVID-19 pandemic indeed brought the world to its knees. It has transformed the lives of millions of people in unimaginable ways. In our webinar today, we were given different principles and reflections for us to meditate during our home confinement in the COVID-19 pandemic. So the first one is, life is short and human beings are fragile. So crisis reminds us that we are all vulnerable. We are not immune to the COVID virus. We are susceptible of getting sick. The virus does not choose whether we are rich or poor, black or white, or many more. It can infect anybody. The second one is every life is important. Human life is priceless. We must fight for the lives of all. People, whether rich or poor, were given equal treatment in hospitals and vaccination areas. They don't care whether you are rich or poor. You have to go to the process, as every life is important and all are equal in the eyes of God. Number three, we are all the same. The COVID-19 virus infected all parts of the world, whether it may be rich or poor countries. Even the great super nations that we have are brought down to its knees during this pandemic. We are all the same. We are all beings towards death, as our Father Arvin said. In the eyes of the virus, we are all the same. We all can get infected. The fourth one is, there is good in every evil. After all the negative things that this global pandemic has brought us, there is still a silver lining amidst all of this. We were taught the importance of life, to value the time we spend with our loved ones. Due to work from home setup, people got to spend time with their loved ones. Families were drawn closer together. People had also discovered new methods, systems, policies during this pandemic. New breakthroughs and discoveries were paved by this pandemic. Even in the academe, we have learned new technologies, new delivery modalities, and the use of several platforms for blended learning. People also learned the use of online methods in different transactions, like bank transactions, new platforms to use in order to communicate with their loved ones. Moving on, the fifth one, COVID-19 attacks human beings but stirs up humanity as well. The pandemic changed the way on how we look into things. It has taught us to be compassionate and to protect the people we love. It taught us how to help others who are in need, especially the elderly. And also, it changed our perspective to value hard work. The sixth one, COVID-19 seizes religious freedom but kindles faith. Human beings tend to turn to prayer during times of crisis or difficulties. Even though churches have been closed down or limited due to the pandemic, people still find ways on how they can worship the Lord. Many innovations were done by several religions, like online masses via social media, and many other innovations during this pandemic. Due to the pandemic, people had revisited and strengthened their faith in God. Number 7, the pivotal role of communication and technology. There were various communications and various platforms using different technologies that was used in order for people to communicate during this pandemic crisis. The 8th one is, prevention is better than cure. The pandemic is a reminder to us all that it is better to stop something bad from happening than it is to deal with it after it has already happened. The 9th one is go green. The pandemic changed even our lifestyles. Most people went green and became plantitos and plantitas during this pandemic. They have learned to love fruits and vegetables. People became more involved in planting grains. The 10th one is life is simple. The pandemic taught us all that life is simple. We need a home, some food together with our families, a family that prays together, stays together, and survives the pandemic. So that is for the first session. For the second session, the human person as being towards death by Father Arvin Soriano and Father Eric Galibo. We have learned about the principle of Dasein under Heidegger's existentialism. So Dasein is the being living in the world equipped with the capacity to be conscious of every phenomenon that may influence his existence in the world. man is not only existing in the world, but also he exists within time. Not only being there, but also constitutes an everydayness of his existence, like being authentic. We are living in our everyday lives, not just being in this world. We also learn that death is the end of being in world. The end restricts and determines the wholeness in each instance possible for being there, for us being here in this world. Being at the end of being there, or in this world, there with the being whole of being there, only after we have an existential concept of death can we be whole.